Artificial fishing is, you know, a whole nother ball game. And if you're new to it, I got some topwater tips in today's video. I had a trip with Kevin. I appreciate you, man. Kevin is learning how to use a topwater, and I was walking him through a few things. It was a good topwater bite. I'm throwing a little 3-inch that I painted. This is one of the first ones I ever painted. So this is basically a spook is what it is. I order the blanks and then I paint them. So we got some topwater tips. We had, you know, some really good fish. A couple of tips that I left out that I didn't find in the clips is when you're working a topwater lure, I would recommend, if you're new to topwater fishing and new to kayak fishing, I would recommend doing it off the bank. You know, get used to working that lure. You want that lure to walk left, right, and just a steady retrieve. You know, I don't usually pause it unless something strikes it and misses it. A lot of times they miss it, not because they don't miss, when they want it, they're gonna get it, you know. So what they're doing is, you know, they're thinking that's a mullet and that's on the surface that's injured, and they're just trying to pop it off of the surface for it to come down to them, you know. Even though you might be fishing real shallow like me, it doesn't really matter. Fish's behavior, you know, they a lot of times tail slap it, they pop at it and pop at it, and then eventually sometimes they get it. So it just depends on the bite. The topwater bite is definitely my favorite. Topwater was the first lure that I started with, you know, in saltwater, because I was really good at it in freshwater, but I had never used a walk the dog style topwater. So I had to learn, and you know, it just takes some time and some practice. So you want to keep your rod tip real low to the water, as low as you can. If you can stand up in your kayak, then that makes it easier as well. And it's just little bitty twitches of the rod tip. Like I said, a steady action, just steady left, right, left, right, left, right. And sometimes when they're popping at it, I will slow it down and I'll just twitch it to the left and let it pause for a second. Twitch it to the right, let it pause for just a second. And that's how I hooked up on the first fish today. So I hope some of the tips were helpful. And Kevin, keep on practicing, man. That's all we can do is keep practicing. Let's go get those lines tight. Golly. I talked him into it. Did you want to keep some fish or no?
Yeah, we can keep some fish.
Okay. Oh, there you go. Is that a freaking trout? That's a trout, I think. Maybe. I'm pretty sure. Splashing around like a trout. Good. Yeah. Good trout. Real good trout. Heck yeah, man. Fixing to lose my net. Real good trout on the CFF Topwater. Golly. Redfish. He was moving that bait.
Sight casting?
That one I just saw a bunch of bait move, and so I casted right there by it. I hadn't actually seen a tail or anything.
I'm still trying to figure out, you know, I can figure it out if there's tails or something, but I'm still trying to figure out.
You just look for like that bait I showed you a while ago, things like that, and it doesn't have to be a huge ass school of bait. It can sometimes just be 2 or 3 little mullet that'll flip real quick, you know. They're trying to get away from something, so I cast into stuff like that. Little short dude. I was supposed to put inline hooks on a topwater for today. I forgot. Golly, dude. They're smashing the hell out of that freaking topwater. This is gonna be a pretty good one, I think. I think he'll make a slot. Yeah. Definitely slot. Today, and they're hungry. Yeah, I know y'all gonna do that. You ain't gonna hook me. Let's see. He's slot. Oh, that looked like fish. There went a red. I just ran over him. There you go. Freaking topwater bite, boy. He's a slaughter. Whoa. Some bitch went right under. Man, that's a nice one. He got that freaking lure all the way in his mouth too. He wasn't messing around. Golly. We can't see the lure, dude. Let's see. Real nice fish, mid-slat. He's about 25. Ain't nothing wrong with that. You see, I gotta have that CFF topwater lure. Well, I'm sorry, buddy. 24, almost 25. So every time you pop it, you're gonna be reeling in the whole time. You pop it, put slack, pop it, put slack, pop it, put slack, but you do it faster. So if you watch my rod tip, every time I pop it, I'm giving it slack first before I pop it. And that makes that lure go side to side like that. It's just a rhythm that once you get it, man, you'll have it down.
Do you use a leader?
No, I tie it straight to braid. That's something else. If you have a swivel on that leader, it'll prevent it from walking perfectly. The weight of that swivel, that swivel's popping all over the place too, and it'll mess it up too. I don't use leaders on topwaters. You can, but you would have to tie it straight to braid, you know, instead of having a swivel somewhere. It also helps to have a rod with a flexible tip, like a fast action tip, real flimsy, you know. It can be done with a stiffer rod, but it's just not quite as easy. And if it catches grass, it definitely won't walk correctly. So it'll be a little bit faster on the rod tip. But a little faster on the rod tip, but not so hard. Real short pops on the rod tip. So watch mine again. It's just little bitty. I'm just barely twitching it, you know. I caught some grass, but the harder you do it, it's gonna pull that lure straight, and so the all of the action comes from the rod tip, the action of the lure. You're still popping it way too hard. Watch my rod tip. It's barely moving. It's just going back and forwards, maybe 6 inches. If you're using like a popper that's made to pop, then your action would probably be fine, you know. But on a walk the dog, it's just real short little twitches. You're just barely moving that rod tip, and there's a certain speed that works perfect, you know. You're still moving it pretty far each time. Just slow it down a little bit. You're slow down the speed of your reeling, and then of course the pops real small on the pops of the rod tip. I had never used a walk the dog when I first moved to saltwater. Yeah. I was always a popper fisherman for bass, and it took me a little while. I threw it out there and I was like, I don't think that's freaking doing the right thing, you know. And then eventually I watched some videos and just kind of looked at their lure and seen how it was walking side to side like that, and I was like, I'm pretty sure that's the way you're supposed to do it, you know. So just with some time and patience and practice, you know, back whenever I first started, I only took one lure with me. That way when you get frustrated, you have to keep using that one lure, you know. Yeah. And just get good at working the lure, and you might not catch anything, but you're learning how to work that one particular kind of lure.
Right.
pretty low to the water. I do it side armed, like a side pop. So I'll show you. Depending on where I cast, I got all this stuff in my way with the camera and all that, but I try to keep it as low to the water as I can. And I'm right-handed, so I'm popping it to the right, you know, away from that lure. So however, wherever I cast, I sometimes have to put my rod somewhere different to work it properly, you know. So it depends on where I cast. Like if I cast straight in front of me, then I'll pop it with the rod way over here to the right. So like right straight ahead of me, I'll keep my rod tip all the way to the right. It all depends on which direction you cast, and you know, in reference to how you're angled, you know. That's why I only make one, maybe two casts, and then I reposition my kayak every single time, whether it's windy or not. I want to put myself, whatever I want to cast to, if I want to cast straight ahead if I can. I don't want to really cast to the side or behind me because it's hard to work the lure. So so I reposition the kayak each cast. I'll get it kind of going and my kayak drifting how I want. I'll pick up the rod and make a cast, you know. You're still popping it real hard though too. It's little bitty. I mean, you're barely twitching that rod tip. There you go, man. Hell yeah. You gonna get it, man. Even if that's the only one, you're gonna get some practice anyways. Good deal. That's your first topwater fish?
No, this is on my soft
Oh shit. You cheated, man. It's a slop though. It's a nice red anyways. Here I was, thought I taught you something, man. All these wakes right in front of me.
Well, believe it or not, you teach me something.
Okay.
Well, it may not look like it, but...
Well, as long as you can just listen and try to remember and then put that together as you're practicing, you know, on your own or whatever,